Hi, friends, and welcome to Unscripted and Unstoppable, the podcast for women over 50 who are done playing small and are ready to live a life with purpose, passion, and unapologetic boldness. I am your host, Lorene Quick, a navigator, a coach, and a fellow reinventor walking this path right alongside you. Whether you are navigating an empty nest, retirement, a major life shift, or simply hearing the call for something more, this space is for you. Today, we are diving into a conversation that is very close to my heart, one that speaks to the legacy we create. And not just the kind that shows up in a will or a bank account, but the kind of legacy that lingers long after we're gone, the way we love, the values we live, and the lives that we touch. To help guide us through this rich, soul-stirring topic is Connie Anne Toma, a powerhouse legacy coach and the author of Go Beyond Your Beliefs, Boldly Go Where You Have Always Dreamed of Going. Connie's work is all about helping women release limiting stories, reconnect with their inner wisdom, and craft a life that they feel is deeply aligned with who they are and that is also proudly and profoundly impactful. She is here today to remind us that it's not too late, not at 50, not at 60, not at 70. In fact, this might be the most powerful season of your life yet. So if you've ever wondered whether your story still matters or if it's too late to make a difference, take a deep breath. You're right on time. Let's get into it. Connie, welcome. I'm going to just jump right into the first question and ask you, you talk about going beyond your beliefs. What are some of the most common beliefs that women over 50 struggle with that hold them back from creating the kind of life that they most want to have and live after 50?
Well, first of all, thank you, Lorraine, and that beautiful introduction. You honor me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I that is a you did just dive into the deep end. I love it though. Let's just get right to it. We have to understand that life doesn't end until it's over. We can be a grandma and still be a powerhouse. I'm a grandma. I have a 13-year-old granddaughter, and um, I just keep going. You got to keep going. And probably the biggest misconception, and I hear this from my friends and family who are kind of where probably a lot of your audience is, um, at our age, we need to expect this. At our age, we should this. At our age, and whenever somebody starts a sentence with "at our age," it it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand on end, and not in a good way, because at our age is a belief. It's a societal belief
Mhm.
that at our age we should be slowing down. At our age we should be this, this, and this, right? And the days of the air quotes grandma on that, that's at home with the apron on and the wooden spoon in her hand and rollers in her hair. I think for the most part, and at least here in North America, I don't know if those really if that exists anymore. We can go out and be fun loving and have a couple of glasses of wine with the our friends and be a little wild and crazy still, but also bake cookies with the grandchildren and also be loving, kind, and gentle, because we have also been through a lot. You don't get to be 50, 60, 70 without going through a journey. And we all have an amazing story of triumph. Pretty much all of us do. I personally used to be homeless. And I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but we all have that story, and that has given us wisdom. It's given us strength. It's given us power. It's given us knowledge. And just because we are at our age does not mean that we lock that in a box and forget about it. So always let your light shine. Never hide who you are. Always keep moving forward and share your gifts with the world. Don't hide your light.
I love that. I think what for me, what I heard really about that was when we say that phrase at our age or at your age or at my age, I should. So there's a should implied in there somewhere, right? But also it's like I'm framing my whole life in the context of my age. And honestly, I never did that when I was young. Why in the world would I want to do that right now? Exactly.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And yeah, the shoulds are they always kind of make me giggle because my dear old mom, and she's gone now, but she used to say, quit shoulding all over yourself. And I believe that whenever somebody says should, it's actually what they think somebody else thinks they should do,
Uh-huh.
right? I never think I should do anything. I know I'm going to do something or I know I'm not going to. But if it's a should, it's usually what you think somebody else thinks you should do. So if you say it, you have to kind of stop yourself and go,
I need to
is
stop
that my
shooting
idea
all
or is
over
that somebody
myself.
else's?
I love that. Okay, so you are what is described as a legacy coach, but you approach legacy in, I think, such a refreshing way from how I have heard about it or thought about it before. So I'm going to just ask you, how do you define legacy beyond the typical financial, which I think is what most people think about, or family narratives? How do you define legacy? What does that mean when you use that word?
Well, of course it does obviously mean the financial side of it for next generations to have a leg up and to leave financial. But a legacy is it can be a business that you're building, maybe a dream that us and a younger generation have together, and we can help them to build it up. So then when we do transition into an alternate form of energy, if I can say it that way, that we've given them a leg up that way. Also, a legacy is for a lot of people, and I ask people too, what does a legacy mean to you? Over the years, I've asked that a lot, and a lot of a legacy is how you will be remembered. Uh, what are they going to say about you after you're gone? What impression are you leaving to be a leaver, not a taker, meaning leaving things behind. We are spiritual beings on a human journey, and we are here to leave it better than we found it. In my opinion, that is kind of, I mean, and I'm not going to put myself on any pedestal at all, but kind of my meaning of life, the reason that I/we are here is to leave the world better than we've kept it. And especially nowadays, here we're in April of 2025, if you're watching this in the future. And anybody watching this who knows they're meant for something more, we're here to be healers. Even if you're not a healer, to leave the world better than you found it, to show people and our future generations within our family and at large that we can overcome. We must and we will, and we're resilient beings. And leaving a legacy is leaving it better than you found it. That really, for me, is a great thing. And yeah, to just give everybody a leg up, to
Right.
share our knowledge, the knowledge that you've learned in your 50, 60, 70 years of being here. Don't take it with you, leave it behind.
I'm 66, and this legacy idea has come to me a lot in the last, I'd say last 6 months or so. I've been thinking a lot about that. And I love what you said about how do you want to be remembered? Because I think about my grandmother. And she's on my mother's side, so my maternal grandmother, and her name was Frances. And she still plays a huge role in my life because of who I experienced her as. And she always inspired me. She still inspires me. And my mother is the same. I remember her deeply. I may not have appreciated her near as much as I should have when she was alive, but as I've gotten older, I look back and realize, oh my gosh, my mother knew so much. She was such a wise woman and gave so much. And out of those reflections, I really just started thinking that, life is truly a gift that we have been given and we're blessed with, but we have an obligation then to gift back our life to others. And so as I look to my own death, because I know I'm not going to live forever, nobody does. How do I want my children? How do I want my colleagues? How do I want my clients? How do I want everyone I've ever interacted with to feel about me when I leave this earth? And of course, I want that to be a positive impact, and an inspiring, empowering one. So this is a great
Yeah.
conversation for that. Yeah.
No regrets. I always, every day, every morning I ask myself, how am I going to make today better for me and for those whose lives that I touch? And in the evening, I always task myself as I'm drifting off to sleep, how did I do today? Did I
So
do things today that I'm proud of? And then kind of set myself up for tomorrow. So let me see, what am I going to do tomorrow? How am I going to lift up? And yeah, just we don't know if it's our last day. None of us know. I have friends I went to high school with that didn't make it to grad, and my grandma lived to be 98. So we don't know. And we can just always do our best every day.
I love that. I love that as a ritual to end the day with, looking back and looking forward into the next day,
Yeah.
and then asking that question, how did I make a difference? Is great. Sometimes I meet or I work with women who say, "Well, I'm so old." I mean, they think they're old when they're 60. They think they're old when they're 70. But I'm always telling them, you believe me, you could potentially have 30, 40 years left of life. That's not so old. That's quite young. And so what do you say to women who say it's really too late for me to start anything big? Sure, I can affect my family and my friends by being a good, kind person and supporting them, but I've always dreamed of doing, whatever, and it's just too late now. I can't. I can't start. How would you respond to them?
My first response is, what did you just say? You did not just say that. So, so many people are living to be 100 nowadays and beyond. If you are 70 years old and you think it's too late, you could have 30 years still.
Absolutely.
What in a 30-year span in your past life did you do between the ages of 30 and 60? How much did you accomplish in that time? Between the age of 20 and 50, like, holy smokes, we were setting the world on fire, right?
Yep.
With those 30 years, why do you think you cannot set the world on fire between 70 and 100? Like, why? What? Are you going to sit at home? Are you anticipating that you're going to have a stroke tomorrow?
Yep.
Maybe you will. Maybe I will. We don't know, but keep moving forward. Don't ever, 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 ever. My brothers and sisters and I used to never, ever, shmever, bever. Don't ever stop. Just keep moving forward. We are spiritual beings on a human experience. Our spiritual self wants to expand and grow. That's why we wanted to go from walking to running, from running to riding a bike, from riding a bike to driving a car. That's why people like, all the greats, Wayne Gretzky, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan. I mean, you can name, and whether you believe they're great human beings or not, they were great in their sports, and we can't deny that. They went to practice every day. They were there on the court and on the ice earlier, probably, than most of the other people. They didn't need to be, but our spirit always wants to expand and grow, and that does not stop when you hit that man-made line of 65 or 70. Your spirit will always want to grow. And my late great teacher and coach, Mr. Bob Proctor, he said he was going to hit that hole running, and he did.
Wow.
He kept going till he transitioned, till it was done. Because we don't know. You
No.
don't know how long. It's the saying, live live like it's your last day, but work like you're going to live forever. Um, I think that's a good thing to do. Just live each day to its fullest, like there is no tomorrow. Like give her anyway.
Yeah. It's
I think
almost
that's a
like act as if,
good plan.
act as if you're going to live to 110. And then if you don't, well,
Absolutely.
if you don't, you're not going to know about it anyway, right?
Right? No regrets. But what if you do?
Yeah.
That's the thing. What if you do? You're like, well, I'm probably only going to make it to 80. Well, says who? How do you have a crystal ball? I mean, the average age of a woman is 82 and a man is 79. I know a lot of men that are in their 80s. They're way beyond 79. What if they just stopped at 75 and said, that's it, I'm done. I'm just going to go home and wait for the Grim Reaper to come visit? No, you don't do it. You keep going. You keep living, you keep laughing, you keep sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. Start the business. Take the course. I knew a lady who was 83 and she was going to university. That's the way you want to live your life. What's in your heart? What's left undone? What have you always wanted to do that you just haven't got around to doing? It is not too late until it's done. And none of us know what day that is. So just keep going.
Okay. I totally support that. I agree with that and want to live that. That is my choice. Yes.
We
So,
all, may we all.
please, please, we all should. It's just too much fun not to not do that. I can't imagine, but it's
Life
a
is way too fun.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So if you think about women who are doing exactly what you said, they're continuing on with their lives and they're working as if they're going to live for 20 or 30 years and striving towards leaving some sort of legacy. But maybe they need some guidance in terms of how do they shape that legacy? How do they define it? And especially if they don't see themselves as traditional business people or traditional leaders, but just average people, how do they actually start to grasp the question, what legacy am I going to be bringing or leaving? How do I define that versus it's just going to happen? Or should it just happen?
Nothing ever just happens like that. We just, the same as we all lived our lives when we were in our 20s. I'm going to go to university. I'm going to become a doctor. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to become a lawyer. We have a plan. We activate the plan. We get up and we move and we go make it happen. The problem with retirement, and I call it the retirement lie, is that um, so many CEOs and business owners, when they get to whatever magical age they decide it's at, they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to work here. I'm going to retire. What does retirement mean? People are, and then they say, oh, I'm going to wing it. You can never wing anything. If you just wing supper, you're going to end up eating a burger and fries,
Yep.
right? If you're going to wing anything, there's a chance, a very big chance, it's not going to turn out. So don't wing retirement. So many retired people are in a place of depression, especially those of us that are go-getters, which is everybody here. I'm quite certain of it, even though we haven't all met yet. But we are high achievers, we're go-getters. We don't let grass grow under our feet. So we are kidding ourselves if you think you are going to walk out of the office, turn off the lights, grab your coffee mug, and go home and wing it, you will go into depression. Might be fun for a while, and you think you're going to sleep until noon, but you'll be wide awake at 5, wondering, okay, what am I going to do with my day? We're going to wait for the phone to ring. We're going to wait for somebody to go for lunch with, and maybe for a while, again, it'll be fun. You can't wing it. What do you want? What is left undone? What have you wanted to do with your life that you haven't done yet? Again, take that cooking class. Have you ever wanted to be a barista? Have you ever wanted to know how to make the cute little patterns on the top of coffee cup in the foam? Go work at a coffee house. Go do the things, live the things, have the experiences that you want to live. Go get a job. Go start a job. Or with all of the experience that you have, from your past life, what do you know? What do you love? What do people come to you with their questions? What advice do people always come to you with? How do you get your bread so light and fluffy all the time? Mine's a hockey puck. Maybe you want to open a cooking school. Maybe you have a cooking channel on YouTube. I don't know what it is. Maybe you teach younger generations to cook because that seems to be a bit of a lost art. What do you want to do? Go do it.
Seems
Keep moving forward. And also by that way, because we are in this amazing generation where we are on both sides. We are kind of in that instant cup of soup life, but also in the life where we can bake a loaf of bread. We can make a cake from scratch.
yeah.
We can cook a full-on turkey dinner for Christmas or Easter or whenever. And so to teach and leave the legacy of um, you can do anything and you keep going and you can learn anything you want to do. And we can leave that legacy that you don't have to make a funny video and go viral and make all of your money. And that's how you're going to live your life. That's not life. That's not living. That's accumulating money. And that gets boring too after a while. But keep moving forward, keep fulfilling your spiritual journey and keep working forward. And I hope I answered that, Lorraine. I feel like I kind of went off track,
You did.
but
You said a lot of things there, and I want to unpack it just for a minute. So, what I
hey,
heard first and
absolutely.
foremost was follow your bliss. Do the
Mm,
things that bring you joy. And
mhm.
as you do those, it's kind of like a trial and an error. Some will bring you more joy than others. Some will bring you more happiness, success, glory, whatever that is that you're seeking or that you find. But then also there's underneath that question, how can this help me share? How can this help me help other people? How can this help me make a difference? And then find ways, and they can be little ways, but they could also be big ways. It just depends on what you want, right? So if you love to bake, yes, maybe you have a cooking show on YouTube. If you love to bake, maybe you open a school or you open a restaurant and you affect thousands of people in terms of who you touch. It doesn't even matter how many people you touch. What matters is that you are taking the gift of life you have and returning it as a gift to other people in a way that expands and allows people to grow. But don't just assume it happens by itself. You do have to have an intention.
Absolutely. Bob Proctor always said, pray, but move your feet. Keep moving. Nothing's going to happen sitting on the couch eating Cheetos.
Absolutely not. All right, but that's some great advice that we've gotten there. All right, so can you share a story to us or with us about your own or from someone that you work with about how a woman has stepped boldly into legacy work later in life and just changed her life completely, transformed what she has to offer the world?
I have a lot of stories, but I think probably the most impactful one that I can tell and touch on is my own.
Okay.
I had a dream. I had a vision for my life. I knew who Connie was, or at least I thought I knew who she was and who she was going to be and what she was going to do with her life in the end. And I was on my way to that. And a funny thing happened on the way to the store. Uh, I got derailed and I ended up broken homeless, couch surfing, living on a mattress on the floor of a room this lady had. It was her storage room. And in that moment, I realized I was never going to get to be a mom. I was not going to have that husband in the house with a white picket fence and all of those things that I grew up as and in our generation. That was the thing, right? We got to have an education and we got to have a career, but also have a family. And that's where I felt like I was headed to with my husband and in my life. And we literally did have a house with a white picket fence, but cue the record scratch. you know, you know what I mean? Um, then Yeah, it was very deep, very dark. I was in Mary Kay Cosmetics at the time. I thought I was going to have a pink Cadillac with my two children and my house with the white picket fence, and really living that dream. And none of it happened. So I had to pick myself back up, and I never felt like it was ever truly over. Like I was never suicidal, but man, it hurt to breathe. If anybody's ever been in a place where it actually physically hurts to breathe, that was the deepest, darkest hole that I was in. But from that place, and I feel I now I hope this makes sense, but I always think of it now looking back, like when you jump into a swimming pool, and if you jump into the deep end and you don't quite touch the bottom of the pool, it's kind of a struggle to get to the top. But if you jump into a swimming pool and your feet touch the bottom, you can bend your knees and launch yourself up. I feel like sometimes um, back then I hit the bottom of the pool, and that allowed me to bend my knees and to go somewhere I never thought I'd ever be able to go, beyond my beliefs, beyond where I thought that my life would ever, ever, ever go. And here I am, all these years later, coaching, mentoring, helping people all around the world. I have a book. I never thought I'd be an author. Like, if you told me that back then, I'd be like, you're off your rocker. But I have a book. I'm coaching people. I live in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. For those of you that aren't sure where I am, remarried to an amazing husband. He's a country music artist. Uh, I'd have never thought, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't go through that tragedy. I had to rebuild, relearn, reinvent myself, learn who I am again. And it is never too late. You're never so far gone that you can't rebuild and get back there. So, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. So that's the story I wanted to share with you there.
Wow, that is amazing. And so is it that there was still just a spark burning inside you that had you put one foot in front of the other to just keep going until things got better? Was
Well,
it
I had no choice. I had nowhere to go. I was the only place left to go was to be gone. But something I guess inside of me that it wasn't a spark. I've always been really curious. I used to get grounded a lot when I was a kid for breaking my brothers and sisters' toys, my younger siblings, because I wanted to know. You're old enough to know this. Why weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. And I always am curious what's next and how does this work, and I want to see how this unfolds. Um, so I just kind of I wanted to kind of see maybe tomorrow will be a little bit better. Maybe, maybe I just want to see, and if tomorrow's not better, then maybe I'll decide from there. And tomorrow, it didn't hurt to breathe. It still sucked and life was still awful, but breathing was easier. Oh, and I actually kept down some solid food today. So I guess today is a little bit better. Um, and that was kind of the beginnings of that journey. Somewhere in there, a friend of mine gifted me the book The Secret. It was just starting to come out back then. For those of you that know that book, it's actually on the shelf behind me. That very book. Started reading it, and I went, "Yeah, nothing to lose. Literally nothing to lose. I might as well read this and see what happens." So that was really that turning point.
it seems like curiosity for tomorrow at least. One day at a time, but curiosity about what's going to happen tomorrow, and then it just gets better eventually.
Yeah, and I did
this
have people who loved me, and I think they kept me going too. As much as I felt very much alone, I really had to think that there were a few people that were reaching out, and the person who I was staying with, I'm actually still in contact with her a little bit now. She has no idea the gift that she gave me by letting me have that corner of that room, but I couldn't do that to them, right? If I thought about if I do, well, then what's that going to be for them? And I just kind of felt like I would be being selfish, and I just couldn't do that.
well, well, if you think about that path, and all of us to some degree, different story, but still the same path in many, many ways. What are some of the most common obstacles, both either inner or outer, but obstacles that show up when you're going through this transformation, and how do we move through those or deal with them without giving up, without losing hope?
Hmm. In terms of, I mean, if we can kind of come out of the spiritual realm and kind of back to physicality, one of the biggest obstacles I find when I'm working with CEOs and business owners as you know we become our age and maybe looking at retirement is staying too long where we don't belong anymore. And I mean, gosh darn it, now that I'm saying that, maybe that's what I did wrong in my first marriage. I stayed too long. Um, but we got to know when we've just put in our time,
Mhm.
when we are just there because we don't know what else to do with our life, but there's no fulfillment there anymore. There's no self-satisfaction. We've given all we can to that, I'll call it that cause, because maybe it is a marriage, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a business, maybe it's a friendship. It could be anything, but we kind of have to know when it's time to walk away. When is it time to, I'm not going to say retire. Oh, there I did. I just did. But when to transition to another job, when to go and pursue that next thing that you've always wanted to do with your life. That was the biggest obstacle that I find working with my clients is to help them understand because the yeah buts come in. Yeah, but the company will fold. Yeah, but who will do this work? Yeah, but nobody else knows how to do this. And we, as a business builder and business owner, we have all of this knowledge in our minds and the skill that we don't think anybody else could ever possibly replicate us. But finding the strength to not care, but to not be bothered by it as much and being able to walk away.
I,
Um,
I
and
think
finding somebody to replace it or finding somebody to buy your business and that obstacle of staying too long because it really is an obstacle.
actually, I think, wow, yes, it is. And I see that a lot with women in particular. We are loyal and we'll stick it
To a
out.
fault sometimes.
It's going to get better. If we just keep trying. I'm not trying hard enough. I didn't do the right things. And even after we walk away, we often have guilt around, I should have done this, I should have done that. So we still stay in our heads, right? So,
Yeah.
so you're right. It's a huge barrier to achieving our dreams because
Hmm.
we're holding ourselves back, stuck in a place that's not allowing us to fly.
Right. Well, we're not allowing ourselves to fly,
Yeah,
right? We
well, absolutely.
we we've got to know and in my moments of being on that mattress on the floor, the realization that we all must come to if we're not there already is you are responsible for your life, your results, your life, your clothes, your house, your money, your car, your life, your results, your choices. So we get to choose. Something else I just want to touch on for a really brief moment, if I can, is a word called the paradigm. We hear paradigms all the time, and what they are, the definition of them, as taught to me by Bob Proctor, is a collection of habits and beliefs that are stored in our subconscious mind. I have paradigms, I have my own beliefs, limited or not, around money. I have my beliefs around people who wear green, right? I have my beliefs around other things in the outside world, and we can talk about them or not. But there's also a collective paradigm. It can be cultural. It can be um, it can be religious, a religious belief or habit. And there's also a female paradigm. We women are nurturers and the kind of the beliefs and habits in our, I'll call it in our DNA, even though maybe it's not quite exactly so, but we get the point that as women we are meant to take on the burden of making sure everybody else is happy to the detriment of our own happiness. And that is a belief that is not true. millions of people believing something doesn't make it the truth. And so we are not responsible for everybody else's happiness. They're responsible for their happiness. And we are responsible for ours. So we have to get out of our own way, make our own choices. And yes, you can, you will. And I want to say you must walk away. And if you can't do it on your own, find somebody that will help you. I need to walk away. I don't want to do it. I'm going to be pissed off when I do it, but I need you to make me do it anyway. But you have to have that determination. You've got to be ready and willing to do whatever it takes to get out of there and get onto the life that you're here to live, because we don't know how much sand is left at the top of our hourglass, as we've already spoken about.
That as you talk about that, I'm reminded of the word ruthless, which I used to think was a negative word, and I've come to love that word. You live ruthlessly to realize your dreams, your vision, your passion. You don't let anything stop you. And like you said, you are indeed the one responsible for whatever is happening to you. You choose
Absolutely.
every day of your life, every decision you make. So, and sometimes that's a hard truth to face, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you could give advice, here I am listening to you and I want to know, well, what's the one thing I could do right now today to get started in this process, to create this legacy that I'm dreaming of, this gift I want to give?
I want you to wake up your imagination. The very first thing I do with any of my clients is we got to wake up your imagination. Your imagination is what's going to give you that idea, that vision, that thought, that feeling of where you are meant to go next on this incredible journey called your life. And how do we do that? You need to have a pen and paper with you all the time. Anytime you ever see anything, hear anything, or feel something that you want to do, be, have, or feel, you write it down. And this has happened more than once to me, but I tell my clients, even if you want to fly a purple Pegasus over a rainbow, you write it down. This is your list. And what this is doing is waking up your imagination. And we're going to write down some silly, crazy stuff like I want to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader or I want to be an astronaut. But in that, we are waking up our imagination. When we were kids, we used to, put a colander on our head and a sheet around our shoulders, and we were a superhero or Wonder Woman. We were, of course, who's a superhero also, but or a ballerina or whatever. We need to do that again. When we wake up our imagination, we spark that inner child begins to wake up. And when we can take that inner child by the hand and say, it's okay, come out of the shadows. It is really time to play. We've got one more thing that we get to do because we have the money, we have the time, we have the wisdom, we have the knowledge, we have the freedom. What do you want to do? Right. And of course, my inner child goes, ice cream. Let's go for ice cream. But in the greater scheme of what one, if you have one more thing, you have no shackles holding you down, what are you going to do? Go find that. Start there.
Beautiful. And to wrap things up, one final question, Connie, if you could leave our listeners with one piece of wisdom about creating a life and a legacy that they would be proud of, what would you offer?
These last questions always get me going, so forgive me. Can ask for advance forgiveness. You are already enough. You have already left a legacy. You are already amazing. What you seek is inside of you already. You've already done it. You're already there. All you have to do is keep honoring the amazing person you already are. Don't quit. Don't give up. Don't stop. Don't waste a beautiful, precious day on this amazing planet thinking you're not good enough, that you've not done enough, because you have. Whatever you've done, whatever journey you've been on, it was the journey you were supposed to be on. Take who you are. Take what you've learned and keep sharing it. Share it in a positive, beautiful, uplifting, world healing, beautiful way, like only you can. You don't have to build nothing. You've already built it. You just don't know it yet. So please know that and just keep moving forward every day like you already know how to do. That is the best thing that I can share with you.
That's perfect and absolutely truth. So thank you for that. This has been an amazing, powerful conversation. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, Connie, for sharing with us your insights, your heart, your vision about what is possible when we stop holding back and start living our lives with intention around the legacy we wish to leave. If, dear listeners or viewers, if you are inspired by Connie, and I hope you are, and I think you must be, I do encourage you to connect with Connie directly. All of her links will be in the show notes, so be sure to check those out. Whether you're curious about her book, which we didn't even get into, her coaching, or if you just want to follow her work and know that she's someone you want in your corner, please take a look at those links and reach out and make a connection. I know she's would love to hear from you. And
I would love that.
perfect. And if this episode spoke to you, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share Unscripted and Unstoppable with a friend who may need to hear this message that we've covered today. You never know who might be waiting for exactly this kind of encouragement to take their next step. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank all of you for listening, for spending time with us. And until next time, stay bold, stay true, and remember, you are never too old and it is never too late. Thank you.